Welcome back. We're still with Tim Hansing, CEO of Red Planet Hotels. Tim, you've worked with some larger-than-life characters in your life. Your last employer was Prince Alawid, one of the richest men in Saudi Arabia, probably the most influential person out of Saudi Arabia, businessman in terms of business at least. And now you work with Tony Fernandez. What's it like working with people like that?
You know what? They are demanding. They have a vision that they want to see achieved, and they kind of pull the levers and drive the people to get that vision done. And they are very similar. I've met a number of, in my time with His Highness, I met a number of key strategic players in many industries, presidents and prime ministers, and they're all sort of the same personality type. They're just incredibly focused, incredibly driven, and they know what they want to get done, and they don't get sidetracked by the noise.
And they don't suffer fools either, do they?
No, not at all.
And that's excusable given their goes into the airline industry, now in the hotel industry. You partnered with him essentially to build hotels in 7 countries for him. How long is that relationship going to last?
Well, I think it's going to last a very long time.
Because last year you bought part of the company.
Correct. Correct. Now that we own 17% of it, I sit on the board with Tony. We have a board meeting on Thursday. We're working on how to bring the 2 companies more together and more aligned, save costs on both sides. So we have a great working relationship, and it's sort of built up over the last year and a half since we had our ownership. And it's fun, and Tony is driven, and he wants to make the business a success. And he has plans to IPO Tune. We have plans to IPO Red Planet. So everything that we're doing is completely aligned, and it's fun to be working with Tony. He's a character, and like you say, these guys don't suffer fools gladly. So he's a good guy. You're planning to IPO
Red Planet in about 2 or 3 years, right?
Yes.
But currently, you already have 1 or 1.5 situations where you're essentially public companies in 2 different countries.
Correct. Japan and Indonesia. Yes.
Is that going to happen in the Philippines as well?
You know, a really good question, because we were thinking about what we're going to do with the Philippines. Because
what you've done in those 2 countries is essentially what's known as a backdoor listing.
Correct.
Which is a very hot topic whenever it comes up in the Philippines.
Right. I think for the Philippines, we've got an existing track record. We've got hotels that are performing well. We've got other hotels that are under construction. So I think for the Philippines, we could potentially do an IPO of the Philippine business.
So not a backdoor?
Not a backdoor. I don't think so at this moment. We haven't got plans to. But we are beginning to float the idea that it would just be a good old-fashioned IPO.
Why is that better or more advisable than a backdoor? Which is usually faster?
It is faster. But I think, in the countries that we've done it, we haven't got a lot of hotels that are open as yet. Here we've got more than anywhere else. So I think you can go and shout about your track record louder, and people can look at the performance of the hotels and get excited about it. So it's all about value, right? So you've got to drive the value.
When might you have an IPO in the Philippines?
I wouldn't rule it out next year. I can't say that it is, but timing-wise, that's probably quite good, because we'll get a few more deals done. So we've got pipeline, we've got growth. Because people in an IPO, especially in hotels, they love to have a growth story. So we can't just say we're done. It's got to be a story of growth, of future value. Obviously, we've got to live up to that story. So next year if it happens, potentially next year could be some good timing.
Now, of your 7 franchise countries, the Philippines is where you have the most hotels, or is that right? Why did that happen? What about the Philippines made it the number 1?
Well, I think what happened here is that there's been a period in the hotel history of the Philippines. There's been a recent period of probably about 10 years where people haven't really looked at the hotel sector. You've had a lot of old hotels, and they're getting older and older. And actually, when I was with His Royal Highness, we saw this opportunity as well, and we did the deal on Raffles here in Manila. But there was basically what we felt would be an undersupply situation when the economy picked up. And the economy started to pick up. And when hotels react very quickly to economic changes. They're a great indicator actually of economic activity is hotel occupancy. So we saw occupancies beginning to build, and we thought, okay, now's the time. So we went, and it was effectively low-hanging fruit. We had no competition. Nobody else was running around trying to build hotels and do what we were trying to do. And we had a few people help us out here who were very useful and supporters of us. And so we just saw that there was an opportunity and thought, okay, let's grab this as fast as we can.
The Gokongwei, so their Go Hotel, they also, of course, own Cebu Pacific, so it's kind of like a parallel to AirAsia and Chun. They've tried to do it as well. What's that competition like?
They're not where we are at the moment, and I think looking at where they are, they're in cities that we probably wouldn't go to. But you know, frankly speaking, the budget industry is in such its infancy. You know, there's lots of room for everybody, and you know, if they want to build some hotels, that's great because people get used to budget hotels. They get used to the concept, which is good. So we don't have to train people, or educate people to get used to good quality and great value. So you know, it takes time. So if the more the merrier.
When you were with Prince Alawid and you signed that deal for the Raffles here with the Ayala Group, you must have met the Zobels. And they're now trying to put up a hotel chain, or in the midst of putting up a hotel chain called Seda.
Right.
What is that? That's obviously not in competition to you. It's more a businessman's type hotel.
Yeah, it's a boutique hotel.
More businessman's boutique type of hotel. What's the market like there?
Well, it's not as good as where we are, frankly speaking, because, like I said, we're, if you like, at the base of a triangle. So you've got this triangle, right, of demand, and the top is satisfied by Four Seasons and the Fairmonts and all that. And that's
the companies you used to work for.
Correct, and that's a smaller amount of business. We went for the biggest piece of business, which is at the bottom, which is, if you like, the bottom of the triangle. So there's more people staying in budget hotels than there would in luxury hotels. So we've gone for that piece. Now in the middle, it's obviously getting smaller and smaller. That's not our bag. We want to be right. We're comfortable right where we are in the largest sector of it.
But don't you miss being able to walk through a fabulous lobby and go into a nice, ultra comfortable room?
Well, they're all a bit precious, really. I think, you know, I like real people and real things and making a difference to people's lives. You know, we invested. In the Philippines, we've invested $80 million for those 10 $85 million, sorry, for those 10 hotels. And that's direct foreign investment into the Philippines. So we've created jobs in construction companies, the tourism industry, all sorts of things. And so it's a tangible thing that we're doing here for the local economy and the local guys here. I mean, we do corporate social responsibility days twice a year. Well, the next one's in November. Look out for that. And, you know, we're doing a feeding and education program for disadvantaged kids. Right? We're going to do that here in the Philippines in November, and we do it across all of our hotels. You know, we've painted orphanages, cleaned up beaches, planted trees.
What does the Philippines need to do to improve its competitiveness in the tourism market further?
It needs to build a new airport in Manila. That thing's getting a bit old now, and it needs to have an infrastructure.
How do you feel that?
I use it.
How does your business feel that?
The business, the Philippines could be so much more. You've got super beaches, you've got great people, wonderful personalities, got lots going on. Great, you know, workforce speaks English. There's a lot that could happen
because
here, but it's an infrastructure issue.
Here we beat ourselves up by saying we have a lousy airport, but do tourists really care?
Yeah, they do.
Do they know that?
Because they arrive at the airport, okay, then what do? Then they've got to go and get downtown to the hotel, all right? Or they've got to do a transfer. So if they arrive internationally in Manila, you've got to get out and then transfer to the other terminal. And that can take you hours sometimes. You know, and tourists are sometimes uncomfortable in areas where they're not used to being. So you have buses and coaches, and then you sit in the traffic for hours on end. So it's about infrastructure. It's about a railway system. It's about airplanes, airports.
What country is doing that well?
Well, Dubai did it fabulously well. I mean, they had a check, right? But that's a great success story. Is Dubai? You know, France does it well, but you know, the US do it well. A lot of places do it well. Japan does it well. The Japanese have realised how much money is being made on foreign tourism, and they've just dropped visa requirements for Thais and Malaysians. so that people can get there easier. It's all about making everybody's life easy and providing an infrastructure. So that's the best thing that could happen.
So you're going to open 4 hotels in the next 8 months or so, bringing me up to 10.
Yes.
What's the target by, let's say, 2015, 2016?
Probably another 6 or 7 more. Again, looking for that growth. But obviously being selective where we go, making sure that there's the right demand characteristics.
So the same pace, and then the same pace of openings.
Once we've opened, once we've got our 10, it'll be slightly less, probably once every 3 months, 4 months, something like that.
That's still very fast.
Yeah.
Now, the reason you build these hotels in 18 months, you have a template for that already.
Yes.
How important is it that the rooms are, what is it, 15 square meters?
Yeah, it's critical, absolutely critical.
Otherwise what?
Well, otherwise you start getting guests expecting something the same and it's different. So what's also important is, of course, each room costs us about $44,000 to build. So if I start changing the room sizes, then and the model's based on that, return on capital employed, payback 5 years. If I change the room sizes, make them too small, people won't come because it's too small. And then if I make them too big, it costs too much, I won't get a return. So it's a balance.
And as more competition come in, don't you have to offer more amenities?
That's called amenity creep in the hotel business, and it's something that we don't do because we're a value brand. We're providing value. So why charge extra for slippers and all of this stuff that people probably don't use anyway?
But as competitors come in and they see your model and they replicate your model, how do you differentiate?
It's about providing an international level of service, an international level of maintenance, and keeping up with social media and all of that stuff. Because what we like to think is as an international company, is filled with international hoteliers, that we can make sure that we always stay ahead on the latest trends, right? And where we win over maybe a local guy, a mum and pop operation, is that we've always got the maintenance is always up to date, the rooms are always being repainted, nothing starts to look old and crumbly. We've always got to make sure that that's sort of done. And it's the guys and girls that work in the hotels, keeping them fresh and interested and excited. We have a 1% staff turnover ratio in our hotels across the company, and it's the same here because we look after our staff. It's important to us, and we train them some more. They always know what's going on. They're always up to speed, and the whole company here is run by Filipinos. We have no expats at all, and so the local people know what they're doing, and it's great.
And is that Philippine ability, Philippine talent? We like to think that it's exportable. How exportable is that?
Very, very exportable. Often when I travel, I come across Filipinos doing all sorts of things and great things. So there's nothing preventing anybody from shooting the lights out at all.
Okay, Tim Hansing, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. That's Inside Business. See you next week.